like, because that's how my brain is making all those decisions. And that's why this race and this course and this area mentally taxes more than it physically demands.
Welcome to the Gary Word Trail Running Podcast. My name's Phil. I'm here with Mark.
Nice to be back.
I'm here with Pat.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest today, Lucy Bartholomew.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We're doing a little city excursion today. We're recording in Melbourne, Naarm, on the lands of the Wurundjeri people, so I want to acknowledge that to start off with. We're going to be talking today about Sector 2 of the GPT, the Grampians Peaks Trail, which is in Gary Word. It's Western Victoria, and it's the lands of the Djabwurrung and Jawajali people. So like to express our acknowledgement of the custodianship over millennia and sort of really try as trail runners to connect with the land and you just pay our respects to elders past and present. Also say that the music at the start is by the local band Beetroot and the Nang Nangs. It's fantastic. Nice upbeat tunes there to get us going into this episode. So yeah, we're talking about Sector 2. If you're not aware, you're just tuning in. The GPT is the Grampians Peaks Trail. So it's 100 miles of trail running over 8,000 metres of vertical gain. I suppose I'll introduce Lucy, our special guest. So thanks again for joining us. Lucy's currently ranked number 1 trail runner in Australia via the ITRA rankings, 66th in the world.
Where do we fall in that ranking?
So data-wise, the three of us fall just inside the top 100,000. So
I'll closing in.
Yeah, not to brag.
It's all about potential.
Yeah, exactly right. So, Lucy, you've got a string of wins and some amazing results. GPT specific, though, 2023, you were third place in the 50K, 6 hours and 7 minutes. 2024, the miler, first place, third overall. That was when it was called off due to the heat.
Not the miler.
Not the miler, just under the miler. But I reckon that's probably one of my picks of your performances. And 2025, second place under Fuzhou Zhang on the 50K, which was a seriously excellent run.
And that was 5 hours and 15 minutes. I'm super curious to ask questions about the not quite miler as well, because I just think that was such an insane run.
We'll get to that, because that's I think we're all keen to hear about that experience, because Paddy, you were a not quite miler on that day as well.
Yeah, I think that pushed me inside the top 100,000 in the world, that performance.
I reckon going back when the miler was first announced, single track came on board, and I remember the first camp in 2023 and you being there, Lucy, and you were the first ambassador for the single track event. Do you want to talk a bit about how your connection to the miler and Gary and how that kind of came about?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually crazy because prior to this race being put on, I had actually never been to Gary Word. My brothers and dad had gone hiking out there, but I hadn't run there. It wasn't a place that I'd visited. So this event put me to make the effort to drive down, and it was a really cool experience to get to run somewhere for the first time in my home state. I feel like I've run in so many places so many times, but sometimes it takes something like an event being put on and Colin whispering in my ear about coming along and seeing this track that's been built. And yeah, it was cool because everything was like first time and creating memories there. Yeah, now I can't stay away.
That's amazing. So the camp in 2023, the first camp, they just announced the event. That was your first time trail running in Gary Word?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I kind of came along to the camp to see the trail and to experience Halls Gap and Dunkeld. And then Visit Grampians was like, so do you want to be an ambassador for the place? And I was just like, a little bit kind of like, this place kicked my ass. So I was a little like, oh, I'm going to need like a little time to sink in. But by the end, I was like, sign me up as your ambassador for the region because this place is special and more people need to talk about it and make the effort to come along. I think the diversity of the environments that you're in, the weather, the terrain, it's just a place where you can feel really, really small, but also you're in a place of such significance. And I think that that's just really special. You know, the point to point of the trail, the 100-mile traverse is just so iconic and it's so cool, especially for a race. But But even just to move through the sections and what I've done and returned and just kind of done little bits, this place beats you up and breaks you down, but it builds you in such a strong way. And I really think that the runner I am today is because of the trips that I've made to Garwood and to the effort and the work that I've put in. So I think it's just a place that really reminds you of how strong and how amazing Mother Nature is and how strong we can be as humans, especially when you get to share the place with others.
I'm definitely feeling the beats you up and breaks you down. I'm suffering from a broken rib from a couple of weeks ago from the Garwood Trail, so I can see it from that perspective.
I was running Brisbane Marathon on Sunday, and previous Sunday I was remembering that I was doing the Rosea section in Tabarra Huts, and I was in like cyclonic weather on this ridge, and I was running the Brisbane roads, and someone was like, "You make this look so easy," and I was like, "Dude, this is so easy."
And congratulations on the win at Brisbane as well.
Thank you.
I was just reflecting that, if you take away the mountains, no need to carry a backpack. All of a sudden, as a trail running, ultra running specialist, you can just fly on the roads.
Oh, yeah.
You smashed it. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. It was a great contrast from Garwood the weekend before. And it's so cool to do the same sport so differently. And that's like the spice that keeps me excited about it, especially when I'm just banking big miles.
I find it particularly interesting having come from a road marathon background and now just sort of starting to get into the ultras and the big distances and the trails. You mentioned Rosea and the Garwood trails just being brutal and beating you up. What advice would you have for someone who is moving into those trails?
Yeah, I think for me, Garwood really always reminds me about how the place will pace you. There are sections, and we'll talk about this section, that is relentlessly hard and slow because it's pacing you to protect you to run fast on the sections to come. But you have to be smart enough and leave your ego at Mount Zero to be able to do that. And, after running at the GPT camp last weekend and we were running the Dunkeld side, I was like, man, this is so runnable. I didn't get there in the 100 miles, but it would be so runnable if you look after yourself. And I think when you there's two things you can always control in your running, and it's your effort and your attitude. And that's the same from Garwood and Brisbane Marathon or road running, is that you have the effort to eat and to drink and to pace yourself, and you have your attitude of 42 kilometers can be a long way on the road, but 10 kilometers in Garwood can be a long way too. So you can control those two things.
It's amazing. And the place will pace you. It's an awesome mantra.
Yeah, I guess that's like effort and attitude. I love it. I saw you post something on that the other day, and I'm like, that's perfect. And in terms of effort, how do you go knowing the effort to put in? I've done the 50K a couple of times, taking nearly an hour off previous, but then the miler as well. Like, how do you know the effort? Is it just a learned thing?
Yeah, it's definitely something for me. I'm not using heart rate or any of the data, but I've been doing this sport now 15 years, and I've done races that are of equivalent times for the 50K or the 100 miles. But I think that when you think of the factors, I think of that 100 miles and starting just roasting on that rock at Mount Zero, and the effort felt hard just to move forward. It felt hard to stand there. And so to kind of, again, go back to what can I control here? I can't control the weather, but I can control my fluid intake, looking after myself, cooling myself down. And then my attitude is I can be there's a lot of feelings that I had about that of oh, this feels a bit scary, and I was nervous and anxious about it. But then it was just just take it one step at a time and just kind of move through as best you can, just mitigate as much as possible.
It obviously worked really well given the results, but interested, that weather was so intense in that 2024 when you did the almost miler. But last time, this is a re-recording of episode 2, and really good you're on. Last time we introduced the word mizzle.
What's the long version?
Garwood's mystical mizzle. There was definitely no Garwood mystical mizzle over that event weekend in 2024. And like you said, starting off in that heat, I can't remember exactly, but it's about 38 or something, with the rock, and that's in the shade with the rock beating down on you. I think you and a couple other participants might have started fully drenched, saturated yourself. Can you talk us through that as a concept? Because I guess for others, starting soaked, your shoes and socks sort of wet to start is a bit of a foreign concept. What's the rationale behind doing that?
Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences with heat racing. So I've done races in the Simpson Desert, I've done Gobi Desert, and then I've done races that most people know, like Western States. And Anne Trayson, who's a legend of the ultra game, she gave me some advice on my first Western States, and she was just like, douse, 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 be wet all the time. And you just create this free aircon, and it's a little uncomfortable to be wet, and, you know, you're playing the chafe game, and man, did I get chafed. I don't think my rib cage has been the same since, but, you know, like, that's just... After she told me that, and she's someone I look to, I have no fear of just staying wet and being wet from the start.
The difference that is going to do in terms of you being able to manage, it's like heat management really. Is it just keeping yourself saturated to then be able to push through and manage that heat?
Yeah, so it's just a combination of putting the ice in the ice banner that melts, and so you've just got this constant stream of water on you. And then it's using, you know, if there was any, I mean, there was no water in Gurrawerd on that day, but, you know, I was running along last weekend.
Dried up, yeah.
I was looking at all the puddles and the little rock divots, and I was like, man, where was this?
Yeah. Needed a bit of mizzle that day.
I don't think you used it on the race weekend at GPT, but I've seen you with a frozen bottle down your backpack. Have you used that in events, or is that something you commonly do as well?
That's been something that's since that race. So I've been kind of like, how do we get smarter with staying cool? And kind of, we've got to have this pack on. And, you know, if you can kind of shove more stuff down there to stay cool, taking a lot from cycling and triathlon of just like putting down Ziploc bags of ice, and then it just empties out, and then you just toss it and throw it over yourself. So it's just kind of, how do I work smarter, not harder? Because that race really, you know, yes, I got away with what I did, but there's so much that I would improve if I was to do it again.
Sure.
It's quite exceptional hearing that, you know, you can still improve despite your pretty excellent results. So that's cool.
Can't wait to go back 1 year and like have a full run and maybe some kinder weather.
It probably points to why we're so addicted with this sport, I suppose, isn't it? You know, you have a good result or a bad result, and you still think, I reckon I could have done that a little bit better if I did this or did that. You know, these little thoughts come up in your mind.
I feel like Gurrawerd was like, we need you to come back.
Yeah.
So why would we let you achieve the thing you want to achieve now? You know?
Yeah.
Rude.
Yeah, that's it. I'll get on to Sector 2, so let's chat about this. So we're going from Gar Trailhead to the Mount Difficult Road. It's 19.6 kilometres long, 1,036 metres of elevation. It goes down 670 metres descending, so it's a net uphill segment. Probably one of the hardest segments of the GPT and one of the slowest.
About the first 8 kilometres of this sector is just uphill, and that's where the bulk of the climbing is.
Yeah.
But luckily you're running past, like, I think in the first 2 kilometres you run past 5 waterfalls, providing they're running.
Providing they're falling.
But it's such a beautiful spot right now. It's June and the waterfalls will be going all throughout the winter now. I just was there the other day and it's like incredible.
It's stunning, yeah.
It'd be fantastic if somehow they were running during the GPT 100 one day. But this Sector 2 is such an important sector, I think, whether you're doing the 50K or the miler.
It's quite a long way and it's a long time because it's so technical. It's just kind of a bit slow. I know when I raced the 50K, I was completely dry. I was hanging out for that aid station and I still didn't stock up enough on the day, and I was dry again within a few kilometres.
And in the hot miler event, I got to the stone steps heading up towards Gar itself, and there was just heat radiating from everywhere. I've never felt like I'm going to faint before, but I actually felt a bit lightheaded there, and I was like, oh, I better just really take it quite easy. And yeah, couldn't believe how slow I was going through that section, but I think that was a benefit in the end. So basically you've got 8 kilometres going uphill. Through that, you go past the waterfalls, up through a bunch of stairs, you get to the first plateau, and in the winter months, that's actually really nice. You've got some nice little tiny lakes up there, beautiful views every direction you look, and you keep going up to another plateau. Eventually you get to the point where you have the option to go to Gar or Mount Difficult itself. The GPT actually doesn't go to the peak, but if you're there outside of the event weekend, it's a really good thing to do. From there, you've got a nice technical downhill that goes for about 1.5 kilometres. Then what comes after that?
Maybe some rocks.
I reckon there might be some rocks.
A little rocky for the next 150
Kilometres?
Oh, yeah. I don't know, the next bit that sticks in my memory, like it's very technical, very rocky, but there's this really steep pinch climb. You're like, does the trail really go up there as you're looking up? And it only lasts, maybe 50 metres of vert or something, but it is quite steep and hits you in the face.
Yeah, it's just a rock slab.
You sort of have to really look where you're going.
Yeah. Single track do a great job during the event of marking out the course, but if you're ever there outside of race day, yeah, you got to keep an eye out for the little Doritos, the little triangles that guide the way.
After you do that steep climb, it sort of throws you under the east-facing cliffs, and you get some really beautiful runnable stuff there as you're running like under the cliff line. After that, it spits you back out on the ridge, and this is the bit that a lot of people really don't like, is where it's angled rock, very technical, but it's where you need your right leg to be slightly longer than your left as you negotiate that. And this is where people really struggle if they're not used to that uneven terrain.
It's really hard to get a rhythm off it. I don't know. Lucy, you obviously run it each year and each event. I don't know whether you've found that as well.
No, I think you're spot on. It's super janky, and it's not a section that you're meant to move fast. And you think of what bookends either side of it. Like you say, you've come off a pretty flowing into Gar. And then when I think of Mount Difficult and then into Halls Gap, you've got running there. So it's like a section that on paper, it doesn't read dramatically. It takes forever. I've tried to be heroic and I've run through Gar and not picked up water because I'm like, it's not long till the next aid station, and I have been eaten. And I've also run out of Gar super heavy full of water for the heat edition, and more or less I've moved the same way because you can buckle yourself either way. But I think that this place, finding a rhythm is just having that kind of Dorito to Dorito and looking for the path of least resistance. Because I feel like the more time I've spent on this trail, it makes more sense how it's marked. You can see the way the rock is being trodden, so you can see where the people have been going and you can really see it. But when you go there and you try to move fast and force a pace, it feels like you just keep running into rocks. And yeah, I think of the 100-mile GPT as like a 100-mile fartlek, because there's so many sections of like speed play. There's sections of like, okay, run. And then it's like rest because you're like, there's no point running here. And then it's like run. And you just kind of like, if you look at it like that, this is just a section of rest, and it's a section where it is beautiful and you can really just move smart and don't force it because the good stuff's to come. More good stuff.
The word janky, you said. I think that sums it up really well. Like I don't know what janky means, but it's right there. So that's on point.
Well, if we sort of go through that janky section, like it ends with quite an uphill before you get to Mount Difficult Road. I often don't see that uphill coming, but yeah, you're sort of thinking, when am I going to turn into the road? Why am I climbing uphill so far? And then, you do a bit of an uphill and then a hard switch back to the right, and you're not far away from the Mount Difficult Road aid station.
Luce, your time of 5 hours 15 from last year for the 50K, that's elite. You say that this section you're going pretty slow. Like you need to buy some time somewhere. That time that you've got overall, were you literally slowing down during this section or?
So it was in this section that Fizz out passed me, and we looked like two different animals doing two different sports because she came past light little feet and it was very obvious for her where to go, which I was like, she's from China. I should know where I'm going and I don't. I don't know if she's wrecking this really well, but she came past and was just incredible. And it was actually on that steep part that you're talking about. Because I remember looking up and being like, tell me that's not the Dorito. Like, that's not where we're going, are we? Can we not skirt around this? But what I did wrong there in that race was that I was trying to force to run with her and the way she runs, and she just runs so differently to me, and it kind of beat me up. It's exposed, even if it's not hot, you're exposed to any UV. If there's wind on that section. If there's rain, you're hit with that rain, like you are so vulnerable. And I feel like that's why I would be so much more cautious there to then move better for the final bit of the 50K or just coming into the checkpoint of Halls Gap.
It's funny, leading up to the event last year, Fuzhou was in town ahead of time, and
oh, that makes sense.
I took her to Gar Trailhead, and she actually ran.
It's your fault that she
I know.
does.
As the 97,000th ranked in the world, I thought I might be able to, just keep up with her for a couple of Ks at least. And it's funny, on the flats going past the waterfalls, it's like, oh yeah, okay, maybe I'll go a sector with Fuzhou. And then she kind of just had these little footsteps going up the stairs and just kept that same pace that she was running at on the flat.
Dude, it's a cadence I'll never get.
I lasted till the Briggs Bluff turn off, and then I'm like, okay, Fuzhou, I'm going to turn back to the car. You enjoy it.
My brain just doesn't work that fast. I was just like, how are you making these decisions so quickly? I am clearly not that skilled on this terrain.
But to finish in 5:15, that is so fast.
Yeah, but we're going sub 5 this year for sure.
Oh, yeah. Is that the goal?
When I was running it last weekend, I was thinking it'd be a really cool thing for a woman to go sub 5. It definitely is possible.
It'd be very cool. When the event was starting at 7 a.m, I was suggesting that there should be a brewery belt buckle for anyone who runs under 5 hours.
Dude, rock, paper, scissors.
Get a belt buckle from the brewery while you're banging on the door waiting for them to open. I feel like that's a badge of honour.
I rate that. That's cool.
So that's what's on the cards for later this year, Lucy, the sub 5 for the 50K.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really putting myself in this, committing on this.
You can do the rest of the mile after that as well if you want. Just keep going.
Colin was in my ear all weekend about the race director, about what I was going to do. And I've said to him, TBD for after UTMB. But if anything happens at UTMB and I need a fallback plan, the 100 miler is it. And then for sure the 50K, I will be in Halls Gap and in Garraward for GPT event for sure.
Nice.
Fantastic.
In 2024, from memory, was it fairly late that you decided you'd actually run the mile? Even within a kind of 10-day window before the event starting or something like that? Is that correct?
Yeah, spot on. And it was mostly just it was so close to UTMB. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel physically ready, but I just know how much Garraward fries me mentally because it's just so technical, so consistently. And I just wanted to make sure before I told people I was going to partake that I could do it. And, I wasn't prepared for the day that was given to us, but I was excited about the opportunity. And I had my brother come down and his wife crew, and it was a really special weekend anyway.
Just related to that, having made the last minute decision to do the miler as opposed to maybe the 50K, or how would you ideally prepare differently for the GPT 100 versus the 50, or maybe just non-Garraward events? Is there anything special you'd do for the miler preparation?
I think for the GPT 100 miler, being fit is way less important than being fresh. And I think that that's something that I would reiterate to anybody who's taking on any of the distances, 50, stage, 100 miles, is that this place, it's not about how fast you can run. It's not about how many kilometers on Strava you've logged. It's about how you can control what you can control and be in those elements and on that terrain. And honestly, being strong is better than being speedy and being fast. And so I think this 100 miler, you can read the data or the statistics on a piece of paper on the website, and it doesn't do justice to what you will be stepping foot on, and it'll challenge you in ways that are not fitnessy or VO2 or all those things related. It's not about that.
Or our collective ITRA score and rankings.
Yeah. Garraward does not care about your ITRA score.
Sounds like a t-shirt waiting to happen. So we've discussed Sector 2 from a GPT 100 perspective, but if you're up for a weekend coming to visit and you go to Gar Trailhead, there's a number of options in terms of loops.
Yeah, there's some fantastic options at Gar Trailhead. The out and back to Gar itself, about 18 Ks, is wonderful. It's actually got probably my favourite section of trail, which you don't get to do if you're moving from north to south, which is heading back towards Briggs Bluff from Gar. It's about a 3K ridgeline technical descent, and it's just so flowy and fun. It's almost my favourite section in the whole park. That's an outback, but you've got the option of also then there's like from 10 to 25k loops you can do through that area as well. Everything from linking in some Long Point east and west hiker camps with Mount Difficult and Briggs Bluff, back to crossing back into the kind of the first sector as well, and sort of heading back towards the hiker camp there, looping it through to Beehive Falls. There's a fantastic section that's not on the GPT itself that just runs under this sheer rock face heading back between the Gar Trailhead and Beehive Falls, and you get about a K of a really flat terraced track next to this amazing rock feature.
Yeah, it's stunning.
This section's quite hard to do reconnaissance on, unless you do a car shuffle, get dropped off and kind of run back to Hall's Gap, just because of the length. Obviously an out and back, you're doing a trail marathon. But I know the three of us have done it before where we actually drove and headed south to north and back. So drove to the Mount Difficult road crossing, headed to Gar, and then came back. We did that ahead of the 2024 event.
Was that the one where we stashed the bikes?
We stashed the bike?
Yeah, we stashed 3 bikes in a bush and then rode back down the dirt road.
The most hazardous part was riding the bikes down the dirt road.
Dude, that's a brutal run. And bike ride.
Yeah, the bike ride was hectic.
On subpar bikes, I might add.
Oh, yeah, I don't think mine had brakes.
When you're talking about that run up to Mount Difficult itself from Gar Trailhead, there's some pretty competitive segments there that starts out with Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls, which covers all the waterfalls. I think it's 3 kilometres in from Gar Trailhead. And then the reverse of that.
But I think you're moving to... Yeah,
I think you're moving too fast. And you can actually complete the whole of the verse if you go up to Mount Difficult and back. You can get all 4 lines of the song in there.
Nod to the cult 90s R&B group TLC for the lyrics of that absolute banger of a tune.
What I've found after the 2025 event is I think last time we recorded this episode 2, the 3 of us might have still had an opportunity to be in a Strava leaderboard on some of these segments moving north to south. After the 2025 event, there is just unachievable for me. The times were so fast, it was ridiculous.
I don't run north to south anymore. I'm only south to north.
I preferred running in Garryword before all the famous people turned up. We need some practical things in here.
Oh, is this a snake report?
Is this a snake report? Seamless segue is what we do here at the Garryword Trail Running Podcast.
Take us through the snake report, Bill.
Well, apparently there was a bushfire a while ago, according to Mark, and that got rid of all the snakes.
I personally have not seen any snakes on this section compared to others where there have been multiple snake sightings. I know we had a good introduction to Garryword snakes and snake bites in episode 1. So if you haven't listened, you need to hear Phil discussing this. I haven't come across any snakes on this section. And look, I don't know, take it with a grain of salt, but I don't know whether it's to do with the fact that there was a pretty significant bushfire in this area back in 2014, where from memory, they actually had to create a new severity rating because of how hot and severe the fire was through this kind of Mount Difficult area. And it may be that over that time, given the severity, the ecosystem's just going to take time to rebuild. So as you go through, you can see it recovering. All the flora's coming back. You're getting canopy growth back in the trees and those type of things. But whether or not there's still a bit of a lag for some of the more reptilian species and things like snakes, could be, that's what I'm going with anyway.
If I've seen a snake, it's probably close to Mount Difficult Road down that southern section. I don't recall seeing one in the rocks over the peaky areas so much. Still recommend taking a snake bandage.
Oh, yeah. But if you do get bitten, don't try and call anyone. Your phone won't work.
Just lessons from Phil.
Yeah. But no, there are a few water points around. Anyone want to talk to that?
So there's, outside of the event, of course, during the event, there's aid stations at Gar Trailhead and Mount Difficult Road at the end.
They did have a little makeshift aid station in the middle there, didn't they?
Yeah, they did in 2025.
It was a cool little party. It was unexpected.
Was that under that hanging rock bit?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Vibey. Super fun. Very unexpected.
Yeah.
No, there was a few outfits and music going on there. That was...
Genuinely thought I was hallucinating at that. I was like, this is early. This is early.
Bad sign.
Just in for a party, guys.
And then outside of events, there is a sealed water tank at the Gar Trailhead. There's rainwater tanks up at the Gar Hiker Camp. So that's, 6 kilometres in, 7 kilometres in. But that is rainwater tank, so it's not potable water. So yeah, perhaps if you're using it, keep some of those tablets handy. Then that's a big break until you get to Mount Difficult Road.
Yeah, so we've got the fastest times for this segment. Fuzhou was the fastest with 2 hours and 13 minutes, 18 seconds. Average heart rate of 156, it says here.
Zone 2.
Zone 2, yeah, exactly right. It doesn't have a cadence here, though, which is cadence of 300. Lucy, you were second on this one, with Maggie Lennox sitting just behind you.
Wait, what's my time difference to Fuzhou in that section?
It is 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep, 9 minutes.
That's a lot.
That's fast.
You're fast, Lucy.
I know,
that's
she's
faster.
superhero. She's
Yeah,
crazy.
wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was running actually alongside Maggie for most of this section in last year's GPT before she blazed away from me after Mount Difficult Road, which was really cool to run with Maggie because she's a super climber. We had this sort of yo-yo thing going where I'd catch up to her on the flats and the downhills, and then she would just stream away on the ups, and it just looked like she wasn't putting out any effort at all. But it was really impressive to see someone who could climb like that. It was very, very cool. And I do remember one little section. We mentioned quickly the views along these ledges and cliff faces, and there's one spot where we were both trotting along this technical rock. We were both just sort of watching our feet in our trail running silence with a few swear words and puffs and pants, and I just looked up, and I just love it. You get this beautiful view all the way out to the west, and I said, "Oh, Maggie, if you don't fall over, it's worth putting your head up and having a look at the view." And she thanked me on Strava later, actually. She said, "Oh, thanks for making me appreciate it while we were racing."
I think this is an important thing for running in Garrawert. It's like you could traverse so much of this land and with your eyes pointed at the ground.
Yeah.
And going out there to reconnaissance or to just hike it and to move slowly and to move with purpose to stop and look around is so, so important, because you will miss so much of what really makes this place so beautiful and so rewarding. I know that for me, it's been like this constant. It's so nice because there's so many opportunities to just like come to a stop and to take a breath, and then you can kind of move forward with intention. But I think that that's something that I would highly recommend, is people make the effort to do that kind of a movement through the trail before trying to like race.
Yeah. I suppose like going back to the acknowledgement at the start is just sort of recognizing the beauty of the place and the significance that it has. I don't know, we're pretty lucky as runners and as humans to just be able to experience this place.
Yeah, I think to about 3/4 of the way through this section, there's quite specific geological features as well. And if people would like to keep listening, they get to episode 7, you'll probably get to hear a little bit more about the...
I can't remember what it's called.
No, I can't remember either. But it's the bugs it's the little insects that dug up through the river. What's that called again?
Nah, I've lost that
Anyway,
one.
we tried.
Yeah, good story.
Tell
Tell us more.
All right, and I've got top 10 men as well. So we've got Ethan Penk last year, November 6th, during the event. 1 hour and 50 minutes.
That was part of the relay, I think.
Oh, it would have been, hey, there. So the stage race relay, it's a really cool option. 3 of us did it first year, 2023.
So much fun. In my head, I was running how Ethan was running, but
I'm just like scrolling down, looking for you on the leaderboard there, Mark.
they were everyone was flying last year. They were moving so quick.
Top 10 men's times were all in 2025. I mean, as far as the Strava segment.
Yeah, so then you got James Barnett. I think he was also doing the relay.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then you've got Peter Frano, Ricardo Cherta, and Daniel Jones from New Zealand. Those guys that was the podium of the 50K.
Yeah.
Is Caleb still in the leaderboard even though he was doing the miler?
Caleb Olsen, number 9, and he ran the entire miler. So
Disgusting.
that is disgusting.
I just wanted to circle back to your not quite miler, as you call it, Lucy. So we've talked about how you started, just the heat and how you were drenched. Can you talk us through some of the points of that race and how you were feeling at different times, how you went overnight?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very important race for my career because it made me... I tried to race as I would have raced regardless of the conditions at the start. Apart from being wet and wearing white and having an ice bandana, other than that, I went off at the pace that I would probably go off if I was to do it any other year. And it made me come to a halting stop when nutrition just was not sitting. And then I was coming across men sitting down. I remember passing Jeremy May sitting on those steps that you're talking about, feeling faint. And he was head in hands. And I was like, we're not competing here. We're just surviving. Yeah. And Ben Burgess was with me at the time, and I was stopped and kind of threw up and was like, all right, Lucy, this is not it. You got to slow down. And it was kind of like get to nightfall, because there we can kind of reassess, it would cool down. And I remember, I'll never forget picking my brother up at Burrow Huts, and we've run a bit together, and it was like, oh, it'd be so nice, brother-sister bonding time. And he just was not prepared for the climb up Mount William, because he was like ready to run, and we just immediately started walking, and then it got really technical, and he was getting like frustrated and angry and upset about it. And I was like, I'm so deep in this whole thing, like, you're gonna stop in a couple of hours. And we really had a real relationship affirming trauma time out there. And then I dropped him off and picked up my brother's wife, who was like, yeah, I should be good, I can keep up with you when you're that deep into an ultra. And the thing is, there's a difference here. It's such a specific type of running. And I was reminded of this the other weekend when I started with Joe Dorff, who was doing his 100-miler attempt. And I was like, him on this terrain is me moving well. Like, he can move at his 100-mile effort kind of at the same pace as me, because he's just so much more skilled. I'm ceilinged by my skill. I might be fitness-wise fitter, but I'm not skilled. And so my fitness is useless if I can't actually traverse it. And so Hannah, bless her, immediately it was like, I can't keep up with you. And Ben Burgess had dropped his pacer. So then they ran together to make us feel better about leaving them. And me and Ben ran on together and teamed up. And it was so nice to have company, because it was scary. You were like, we're in the middle of a really gnarly terrain. We've just come out of a brutal day. We know we haven't drunk enough. We know we haven't eaten enough. But let's just do this together. And so it was really nice to have the company. And then I just remember the first rays of Saturday hitting and just being like, I felt like a vampire. I was like, don't touch me, son. I'm so done with you. And, I was meant to pick up Abby Hall for the last section, and she was waiting. And I remember coming in and being told, and I just didn't understand. Maëlle Backhausen delivered the news to me. And I was like, I'm just going to keep going. I was just so vision questing this thing. And then I was kind of like, no, Lucy, respect the call, respect Mother Nature, and just park it. And then I was sitting in the car back to Halls Gap, and I was just like, oh, I'm so happy. It's fine. It's okay. I'll save it for another day. Yeah.
So how many kilometres through were you at that stage?
Did 140.
140. So close.
And that was in 22 hours, I think. So that was heading for a super good time as well.
Yeah. I was very surprised with how I was moving, given, probably the way I started, how early things hit the fan. It wasn't going super well, but I was environmentally and skillfully ceilinged. It felt really easy to move pretty slowly, but slow is what you need to do in this place. You just need to be unrelenting in it. And it was just it was a good jigsaw to put together that day, given everything.
When you talk about being skillfully ceilinged, is that due to the technical nature of just the trails on rock and how technical and challenging it is? Is that sort of what you're referring to?
Yeah, exactly. I don't have the confidence nor the experience on it. I trust my Solomon shoes, of course, but I just don't have the confidence to put my foot on an angle on these rocks, and all the foot placements are angled. That I'm kind of always nervous and cautious, and I'm doing steps that don't need to be done just to kind of mitigate what I think is going to be damage. I was reminded of this at a race that I did recently in Gran Canaria, and you do this big 10-mile, 16K descent with 2,200 meters. And it's all on volcanic rock. And it's not obviously the same rock as Garrawerd, but it's got the same kind of angle, and you've just got to have this confidence to move down it. And I was immediately like, I don't have this.
Wow.
That was an amazing run though. Was that like loose, or was it fixed rock, but just the angles are such that it just makes it hard to have that confidence you're not going to sort of roll?
Yeah, it kind of started as like slabby rock with like loose rock on top of it, which always like skates me and scares me. And then we ebbed and flowed between hitting like forestry sections, which were rooty and pine needly slippery, and then back onto volcanic and just like rock, which has that grip on it that if you put your foot down and don't intentionally lift it up, but you try to like move forward as if you're running on a normal trail, your tread will hold the rock and you will fall forward.
Yeah.
And there's moments of that kind of rock in Gurrawerd. When I was running just recently, I was like, man, you do need to, I'm wearing like some big lugged shoes here and the rock is grippy. My shoe is wanting to grip. And there's just like these two forces right now that if I don't intentionally be like, and lift up the right leg to place the right leg and then lift up that left leg, you know, because that's how my brain is making all those decisions. And that's why this race and this course and this area mentally taxes more than it physically demands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Running the Brisbane Marathon recently, did you have to sandpaper off the lugs on your trail runners, or what did you?
Dude, I was in some thick carbon foam. I was like a kangaroo out there. I was trampolining through.
It feels like marshmallows after running on the trails, doesn't
Dude, it feels like it
runners,
fakes your fitness, those things. Yeah, it's fun.
I was going to ask a little bit about women trail running and your experience there. We've had International Women's Trail Running Day. It was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, 1st of June.
1st of June. Lucy, you're an ambassador for the sport. And in Gurrawerd, we've got the Gurrawerd Trail Running Group as well, which I know has values in this space. And making the trails more accessible and more safe and having the community feel a bit more welcoming to women. Can you talk to that at all? Or where do you see trail running sit at the moment?
Yeah, I think trail running's in such a beautiful spot at the moment where there's just so much interest and curiosity, and there's a setup for being fast and there's a setup for completing and beginning and starting where you are. And I think women have an incredible way of inviting along a broad range of people and enjoying the trails in whatever capacity is happy for everybody. You know, like Gurrawerd it's an intimidating place. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. This race, GPT, it's a very challenging race to do, but it is so empowering for humans to move through that on their own body. And I cannot think of a better thing for women and young girls to move through that and to realize, wow, I can like lift myself up these rocks and I can like dance down them and I can jump off this thing because I'm strong and I'm capable. And that's what Gurrawerd always reminds me of is, wow, like, you know, I am strong and I can move through this. Yeah, I think GPT and the way with the stage race and the 50K and the way that you can kind of come to Halls Gap into the area as a group and enjoy the brewery and the cafe and then the trails and make it more than just running the distances that you log. But yeah, when I think back to how I got into trail running and what it's done for me when I was 15 years old, like I'm just so grateful for what this sport and this community has always looked after me and always welcomed me as I am, as I stand there, how I've moved, whether I've won or whether I've DNF'd. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that everyone's willing to try and to get amongst it and put themselves out there. And running is a hard thing to do. And I think it's just so cool that we can try and do this hard thing and we can all do it together.
That's amazing. You are such a role model for others out there, Lucy. I think, you know, so I've been following your journey for a few years, but one of the favourite things, I can't remember if it was the last year or the year before, it was something where you'd met some young fans and they were super enthusiastic, but they'd actually, their mum gave them the day off school or something to come and crew at Cosy or something, something like this. And just seeing that and that like role model to the younger, like they're only, you know, in primary school, so they're little, but giving these younger generation of Australians people to look up to and idolise. I thought that was such a great use of your role and time in there. What happened with that situation?
Yeah, it's probably one of my favourite stories of my career. I met these girls. I was doing 4 peaks down in Victoria and running up. I was at the start line of Mount Feathertop and we were in line for the bathroom together, and I was turned around and these 2 little girls and they had their little Shocks headphones around their neck and they're wearing their leggings and, you know, and I was like, oh, are you running today? And they're like, yeah, we're going up with Mum. And we got a photo at the toilet block, and then I saw them the next day on Mystic, and they'd started earlier and they cheered me through. And I said at the end, I was like, oh, thank you so much for the cheers and stuff in the rain. It was really nice, and like it really meant a lot. And her mum started a group on a Facebook chat of what were the Trail Sisters or something. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then I said, oh, I'm racing in Kosciuszko. And they said, we live in Jindabyne. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. The 50K is on a Thursday, but, like I'm around till the weekend. And she was like, it's all good. I've got them out of school. And I was just like, you're a cool mom. Yeah. But then I suddenly had crew, and, I met up with them on Wednesday afternoon after school. We went and got milkshakes, and I gave them their little bracelet to get into the aid stations. And they were very nervous about the bottle with electrolyte and the bottle with water and screwing it up. And, and then I gave them my medals at the finish. But we've been in constant contact. They just had school cross country. But I think, when I saw my dad do the North Face 100 in the Blue Mountains back in 2012, it was on Sunday when I watched the final finishes of that race come in, and I saw specifically women of all shapes and sizes and backgrounds coming into this finish line. And I remember being 14 and thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? And I think that gave me the confidence to be like, well, they tried, so you should try. And now I think we have the opportunity, and with social media, you can share your story even further. But for young girls or for other women to see other women of all different shapes and sizes and backgrounds and jobs and lifestyles and whatever out there, it just plants a seed of like, well, if they're doing it, why not me? Why shouldn't I try? And so being that ambassador, just to be like, you've got to see it to believe it sometimes. And so I want to be that happy runner, because you can be happy while running. It doesn't need to be what I see around the tan where I'm like, God, it doesn't look good, does it? It looks hard.
That's so nice, Liz.
It's so amazing to see you use your platform that you've got for, that ambassadorship, and really something for everybody to look up to, particularly like the younger generation of women. And fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, it's a teamwork, right? And I think you guys with your podcast and how inviting you've always been with when I've come down to Garrawerd, and like educating people, because knowledge is power. Like I say, it's an intimidating place, but if you feel like you can visualize it through listening to these podcasts and take yourself there, and then actually take yourself there, I feel like those are the steps that we need, and we can now have to just kind of make that feel more comfortable, because otherwise you're going in blind and it can be a bit scary.
Thanks for joining us today, Lucy. I suppose we'll wrap it up there.
Maybe just a quick thank you also to the venue where we're recording, Bobby Peel's in North Melbourne. Phil, you've got a bit to do with that.
Oh, yeah. This is what I do when I'm not running. This is I run the pub here in North Melbourne.
Failed to mention that. I was like, why are we meeting here?
This is my hood. This is what I do.
I just thought you were a full-time trail runner.
No. I'm actually a full-time alcoholic, part-time bartender, and then I try to run when I can.
A very welcome, probably the second most welcoming run club behind Garrawerd Trail Running is Bobby Peel's Wednesday evening run club. I can attest and pop down.
Mark, you're a regular here when you're in town.
Worth popping in for, and just an easy 5K accessible to everyone, and really great thing. So great community service you're putting on here as well, Phil.
So well done. Nice thing we do. And Wednesday nights, so if you're ever around and you want to come for a trot.
Also just wanted to follow up as well what you said, Phil. Just a big thank you, Lucy, for coming in, and fantastic insights as always, but just generosity with your time to take the time out of your day to jump on the pod with us.
No, I was very excited to be offered the opportunity, so thank you.
No, thanks very much, Luce, and thanks for listening.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
See you all for episode 3, heading into Halls Gate.
It was a bit, what was that word?
Janky.
Janky. It was a janky finish.